Greetings, Earthlings, fellow citizens, and cartoon fans everywhere. This is cartoonist Ken Bailey, creator of the long-running Mighty Energygirl series. We are preparing a single-panel cartoon for one of our longtime fans. This is part 2 in a series on that creation. So come with me now into today's studio. I am cat-sitting for a friend. So the studio for this Saturday afternoon is the kitchen. This, of course, is the Mighty Energygirl, middle-aged, super-powered fighter for justice and truth and other good things. And we went over last time how we started our pencil sketch of just the basic shapes. Our heroine is going to be holding back a car full of hapless gangsters. We tend to be, it's not exactly meant to be parody, but whimsical. I'm my own cameraman because I'm cheap. So my hands may move to open and close pens and adjust cameras and stuff. It may be a bit shaky. Someday I'll be able to afford a separate cameraman. Okay, we are now going to go to the next step after the basic pencil shape, which is the super thin, skinny, fine point permanent black marker. I prefer to work directly with the black markers. When we go and start applying detail, somebody says, what happens if you make a mistake? Well, this forces you to A, trust yourself, and B, learn how to work your mistakes simply into the artwork. So what I'm working on now is our heroine's face. We work on down to the Adam's apple, under her chin there. Our hero has a characteristic one large lock of hair that tends to ride up on one side like that, and then it fans out behind her, down her back, like this, and then also over on the other side, she has a part on what would be her left side, our right. Now, just because our heroine is middle-aged does not mean she's not very well built. I not only mean in the sense you might think, but she's fully human, but has what we call a super constitution. That is buried in her DNA from very early on in what is really just an aberration of nature. Every cell is developed to a degree far beyond those of the rest of us. She processes energy much more efficiently. Her blood is much more highly oxygenated, etc., etc. So, over the course of 30 years of hero work, she has become quite muscular. You know, all that good exercise and eating right and blah, blah. So, here we're coming along so far. Everybody knows that cartooning is very definitely telling a story with pictures. So you learn to do whatever you can to get mood and other things across to tell your readers both the story you're trying to tell and the people you're trying to tell it with. Now, the fellow who has commissioned this wants it evident just how easy it is for our young lady, our older young lady, our 60-year-old young lady who perhaps cannot move a planet like certain other strange heroes from other comic book companies, but the limits of her speed, she can bench press a railroad locomotive, she can lift a semi-truck, but stopping a large sedan full of gangsters is easy work. So we make her eyes half closed as if, you know, oh boy, this is just another thing I have to do besides stopping for milk and eggs and groceries on the way home. Another day in the life of. So we make the eyes half closed and kind of a half grin as if barely exerting myself at all here. Now, E-Girl is a very careful and kind of precarious balance. All heroes have exaggerated bodies, and our fine lady here is no exception, but we are trying to speak with pictures instead of with words. So we want to say strength, but we want to say it in a female kind of way. So we have mentioned her muscles, that she's quite muscular, but at the same time we also want to kind of play up the female characteristics. And even the muscles themselves we want to look kind of softer, rounder, a little bit different than the muscles we draw in a powerful male hero. We want to give her wide hips. We want a lot of soft, curved shapes rather than the more angular shapes a male would have. And then, of course, there is the matter of her chest, because we want it well developed, but at the same time, we want to be saying dynamic and not erotic. And that can be harder than it appears. It takes practice, more than a little luck, and even so, there will be those occasional critics that will not be happy. So, in the end, you do your best, and you, as they say at the zoo, you let the chimps fall where they may. We use cross-hatching, such as that, to give a sense of 3 dimensions. The muscles around her neck. She tends to, like many heroes, have a letter on her chest identifying her name, but it's over on one side instead of in the center. So since it's on the left side, our right, we would just see part of it over here. Like that. You see how we're coming along so far. You're boring. Well, did I mention I can't afford a scriptwriter either, so I just have to do my best there too. Kind of making it up as we go along, and not only the drawing. The calf muscles of the leg, especially with a female superhero, there's the entire body is really a bunch of circles and elongated circle shapes in various different designations. So it's kind of easy to, if you just look at it kind of that way. Because our hero is older than many heroes, she's just a little bit heavier than many. And that's okay. If you have been out there fighting crime and lifting trucks back out of the ditch onto the freeway and stuff like that for 30 years, you really don't care what people say about your body shape much anymore. By that point, you're just out there doing your job. Okay, we can see our drawing is rapidly beginning to progress. At least one end of it is. This is a commission for a longtime Energygirl fan who we affectionately call Cape Cod Dave. And Dave likes one of our goofier villains from our Rogues Gallery, a set of hapless mobsters named the Vinny Vidi Da Vinci Gang, who found they just couldn't make a go of it in Chicago, so they moved to our smaller community, Fairview, Illinois, a fictional version of a town named Fairview, a city that is, and found the good news is there's a lot less competition than there is in Chicago as far as bad guys go, but the bad news is Fairview unfortunately also has its own resident superhero. So he wanted a good old e-girl here holding back the hapless gang's getaway car with one hand and not really being much bothered by it. So the way we show that too is we're going to have her giving the old thumbs up with her free hand. Okay, we will soon be wrapping up this segment. This is called the light inking phase. It's the second phase after the basic laying out with pencil. And we can see it's almost finished here. We got to put E-Girl's cape in, of course. You remember a famous designer in a certain movie complaining about hero capes and the problems that they can cause. But number one, if you are an older, modest female lady, capes look really good flowing in the wind, and they also cover your behind, which keeps the press from publishing uncomplimentary photographs if you just as soon would not be published. And so after several years of not wearing a cape, E-Girl caved and got one. So today she has a cape, and all heroes look cool with capes, let's face it. Now, before we wrap up this segment, I'm going to put my name down here. This is, what month is it? Gosh, January 2018. I am Ken Bailey, and this is the Mighty Energy Girl. Stay tuned for part 3.